In late September, one of the wealthiest men in the world, Bill Gates, made an appearance at an interview with James Corden via Zoom. During the interview, the Microsoft founder had several things to say to fellow billionaires, to which the host described as the classiest burns. So for today, let's take a look at what Bill Gates had to say about his fellow billionaires who are pretty busy with the space business. What did Bill Gates say? On September 22nd, Bill Gates made an appearance on the Climate Night episode of The Late Late Show with James Corden. Right off the bat, Corden thanks Bates for being the one billionaire who's not trying to escape planet Earth on a spaceship for the moment. In addition to that, the host also asked him for a comment on why several billionaires are obsessed with space travel as of late. To this, Gates answered that for him. He's been invested in several human diseases for years, naming malaria and HIV, and his intention of ridding the world of these deadly diseases. I probably bore people at cocktail parties talking about diseases, Gates quipped. Space? We have a lot to do here on Earth. Upon hearing that, Corden was impressed and said that it was the classiest burn he had ever heard. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Gates' philanthropic works, the billionaire has been pretty vocal about his advocacy regarding public health that goes way back. He and his ex-wife established the Gates Foundation and poured their efforts into helping the less fortunate for a better society. As of late, the foundation is focusing its efforts on fighting HIV, malaria, and COVID-19 vaccine distribution. It's no secret that Gates' shady remarks stem from his fellow billionaire's latest achievement. In case you missed it, Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk's latest achievement is the successful first all-civilian orbit called the Inspiration 4. Before that, Amazon founder and CEO Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson all took part in space exploration, where they launched their private jets in space. As groundbreaking as this all sounds, we cannot deny how these actions contribute to the Earth's pollution, not to mention the hefty price of launching them. What are Elon Musk and Bezos' aspirations? Both Musk and Bezos from the get-go have been outspoken about their aspirations for space exploration, and even shared their plans on helping alleviate Earth's deteriorating condition due to its rapid climate change. For Musk, he plans on colonizing the planet Mars, while Bezos plans to decrease carbon pollution by offloading industries that emit said pollution onto other planets. Inspiration 4's safe return has signaled a new era of space tourism, and they're already gearing up for another space flight this coming January called the AX-1. In the upcoming project, Axiom Space will take several individuals via Crew Dragon to the space station that will last for 8 days. Of course, these individuals belong to the affluent and will consist of Axiom Space's VP Michael Lopez Alegria, who will lead the mission, accompanied by investors Larry Connor and Mark Pathy, as well as Eitan Stibbe, a former Israeli fighter pilot. SpaceX owes its recent success to Jared Isaacman's specifications. The billionaire pilot chose the flight length, the altitude, as well as their activities in orbit, and even suggested an additional activity for their retraining regimen. Both billionaires have quite a large following and supporters, yet both men faced backlash from both the media and several other environmental activists. Their recent space endeavors received heavy criticism, and the public demanded both billionaires to pay higher taxes. U.S. Senator Elizabeth Warren also reviewed that Bezos hadn't been paying his income taxes for at least 2 years between 2006 and 2018. As of yet, we haven't heard any response or comment to the non-existent income filing as of late, but Bezos addressed the critics' comments as a result of his spaceflight. He also agreed to what they're saying and said that the human populace needs to do both, meaning solve the ongoing problems on Earth as well as look for better alternatives and consider the future, saying, "We've always done that as a species and a civilization." Elizabeth Warren isn't the only one who called Bezos out. There's another powerful figure who's also criticized the Amazon founder's spaceflight. Care to guess who? And since we're talking about the environmental effects of these actions, are you aware of how these launches affect our environment? Stay tuned and find out. Space exploration is taking us to new heights, but at what cost? What effect do these crafts have on the environment? We are diving into it now, so don't go anywhere. Antonio Guterres, the UN Secretary General, says Bezos created a malady of mistrust. At the UN General Assembly held last September 21st, Guterres stated during his opening remarks how the world has never been more threatened and divided, with both the COVID-19 pandemic and the worsening climate crisis, of which climate alarm bells are also ringing at fever pitch. He also added that the growing trend among billionaires who are racing towards space has exhibited the massive gaps between the poor and the affluent, sending a malady of mistrust across the world, with many people struggling to put food on their tables every day. This remark came from billionaires Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson's recent trip to space last July, wherein the two have been competing in a space race for commercial space travel. Bezos nor any of his representatives have aired their comments on this issue, but both billionaires drew heavy criticisms from their actions. Bezos only spent 4 minutes in orbit, but the trip cost him a whopping $5.5 billion, which angered the majority of the populace, seeing as how this amount could have gone towards several other world problems. GlobalCitizen.org even listed several things he could have solved if he put it to good use instead of his space trip, such as save 3.57 million people from starving, fully funded COVAX for 2 billion people in low-income nations, fully fund several humanitarian efforts, education, international agricultural development, plant 5 billion trees, and help countries adapt to climate change. Space exploration is taking us to new heights, but at what cost? Space exploration has been a curious venture for us humans, and with the advent of technological advancement, we've accomplished more in the last few years than we've ever imagined. With Musk and Bezos' success at space exploration, the affluent are now buying first-class seats to experience such luxury, but for us regular citizens, we're faced with more problems here on Earth thanks to the space exploration as an upcoming trend and tourism agenda. Environmentalists have been pretty vocal about what's happening with the world now more than ever, and fumes from space exploration are taking a huge toll on the condition of our planet. On the other hand, Musk states in the Netflix documentary Countdown Inspiration 4, Mission to Space, that people should dedicate at least a small percentage of our resources to expanding life outside Earth. I think we should spend the vast majority of our resources solving problems on Earth. Like 99% plus of our economy should be dedicated to solving problems on Earth, Musk said in the first episode of the Netflix documentary about the Inspiration 4's flight. But I think something like 1% or less than 1% could be applied to extending life beyond Earth. If life is just about problems, what's the point of living? The eccentric billionaire added, whose driving force behind his space progress is the colonization of Mars. Rockets and other spacecrafts burn an insane amount of fuel to propel themselves outside Earth's gravity, and like we stated earlier, billions of dollars in costs when converted to cash. A pretty heavy price to pay for a mere 4 minutes of weightlessness, don't you agree? Eloise Mare, a physical geography associate professor from the University of London, told The Guardian that a spaceflight carrying 4 passengers emits about 200 to 300 tons of carbon dioxide. Do these spacecrafts cause damage to the ozone layer? What's more concerning about this is that the emissions that are injected remain for 2 to 3 years in the upper atmosphere. And that's not all. These spacecrafts also produce several harmful gases from burning methane and kerosene that are harmful to the ozone layer. The only silver lining about this whole ordeal so far is that the rocket launches make up a small percentage on the polluter list, compared to planes that average 100,000 flights daily. NASA reported that there are only 114 rockets that attempted flights to reach orbit last 2020. However, there's no denying the facts that space flights are increasing at an alarming speed. And with the billionaires' successful ventures as of late, more and more people are buying tickets to experience the trip themselves. Space tourism is already knocking at our doors, so chances are these emissions would go up in the following years. Jessica Dallas, a senior policy advisor at the New Zealand Space Agency, wrote research on space emissions that was published last 2020 that tackled the effects of environmental impacts on rocket emissions. While there are a number of environmental impacts resulting from the launch of space vehicles, the depletion of stratospheric ozone is the most studied and most immediately concerning, Dallas wrote. Aside from gases and other emissions, rocket launches also produce massive amounts of heat that can add to the ozone troposphere, which bears a similar effect to greenhouse gas and retains heat. A market report also stated that global suborbital transportation will be up by 2031, with an average increase of 17.15% each year of the next decade. As of the moment, we're nearly at 5.6% of space travel, but Murray, as well as several concerned individuals, are thinking of how much space tourism will blow up in a few years. And that pretty much wraps up today's episode. So what do you guys think of these billionaire space trips? Are you up for it or against it? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching.